So here's the deal. Last weekend, before we took our trip, Steve over at C&J Bus built this nice bracket for this speedometer drive generator. Now, up until last Friday, this unit was hanging by the wires, and it worked perfectly. After I installed this nice bracket and got everything really good and solid, it quit working. So our trip Saturday recorded no mileage. So today, Tuesday, June 8th, 10th, whatever it is, July rather, I untaped all of this amphenol fitting, and it came apart in my hands. It corroded, and this is what the cable or the connector looks like. So I have no doubt about the condition of the speedometer. You'll see an occasional jerk in the camera, and that's because this door swings back and forth at will. I just haven't had the ambition to dig up a bungee cord and hold it open. Anyway, so I'm going to see what I can do about restoring this connection. Apparently just my moving everything around created a bad connection, so I'm going to work on cleaning these and see what I can do to save this amphenol connector. Well, I did it. I was able to get that corroded connector off of the speedometer drive, and you'll notice that the pins look good. This is the end of the looks pretty bad. So I think what I'll do is go look through my junk pile, and then I'll go look through the inventory and see if I can find another amphenol connector, or otherwise I'll make up something to put this back together. I don't see anything here that would tell me this part of the plug is bad, so let's see what happens. I got it apart, and now what I've done is I've pushed the pins into, there we go, into the back of the generator. This is the speedometer generator I'm talking about. I have all 4 pins in the position I think they belong. And I don't know of anything wrong with that cable. So what I'll do now is I'm going to take the bus out around the block and see if the speedometer works, and then I'll know whether or not I've found the problem. While I was at it, I took the speedometer cable out to clean it and lubricate it. Inspect the housing, make sure there are no open spots on the housing, that it's not kinked or frayed. Make sure the speedometer cable itself is free of loose wires and is completely smooth. Then you can put it back together and put it back in. Now, if you haven't moved the bus, this keyway is going to line up just the way you took it out, so you can get it into the transmission thusly, and it will line up with the speedometer drive motor because you have not moved anything. If you move the bus, these 2 items won't line up. So now I will attach that end And I will attach this end, and you will notice a nice wide arc in this. And this is what you want, a nice wide arc. You don't want a sharp bend, or you'll end up wearing the speedometer cable, and also during operation the speedometer needle will bounce because the cable is twitching. So that's how we do that. And thank you, Tom, for holding the camera for me. This is the electrical wire. This is the hot negative to the speedometer drive, and this is the ground to the speedometer drive. The cable spins a generator here that creates pulses that the speedometer head follows those pulses, and that's what causes the speedometer needle and the odometer to register your journey. While I'm sitting here on the bus, I did want to show you another project that I did not get recorded, and that was replacing the oil pressure sending unit in the engine compartment. Also, the oil pressure gauge didn't work worth a darn. Well, I've talked about this before. Unfortunately, I couldn't repair it and hold the camera. But when I got this instrument panel in a position where I could see the oil pressure gauge, I noticed corrosion around those contacts. So I pulled this gauge out, took it in the shop, and cleaned all of the corrosion around the nuts that hold the terminal to the back of the gauge or meter. Then I cleaned the nuts, put them back on. Then I cleaned the spade lugs on the wires and the nuts that hold that on, put all that back together, and now the gauge works properly. And remember this, on these 4106s, this instrument panel is grounded by virtue of the screws holding it against the main body of the bus. So be sure that the panels are clean and the area you mount it is clean, so that this panel behind this plastic panel is grounded well, because the two gauges are grounded through that panel. Okay, so now we'll start this engine. And you'll see the oil pressure gauge works nicely now. And you'll also notice that I have the charging system working fairly well now. It's registering 12 volts. I still have more connections to clean. There's still a kind of a low voltage up front here. But now I'm going to get this bus out of the yard here and see if the speedometer works. You can see the battery is gradually taking the charge. This is working just the way it's supposed to now. And you notice the oil pressure gauge is working, and the temperature gauge does work. I'll see if I can get some light on the subject here. Turn on. And now all I get is a glare. That sure didn't work, did it? Wow. That ruined it. Okay. Well, anyhow, that's it. I'll gotta back this bus out, and I'll need 3 hands and 4 feet to do that. Okay, well, the speedometer is working, so the results of me carefully taping all those connections caused the system to fail. So now I have just the wire connected to the pins on the speedometer drive, and as you may or may not be able to see, the speedometer is working, as well as everything else. Somebody wanted to know how good I was at shifting this. Well, we'll see. Pretty crappy, huh? But we can start over again. and learn again. See, I changed the engine idling and now I'm paying for it. Well, I hope you enjoyed that short little piece. That's been hanging around the house here for a long time. I thought I'd just throw it together and get it on tonight. And I hope you enjoyed that. So that's all I have for you tonight. By the way, I said 4106 when I meant 4103. And you knew it was a 4103 anyway. So that's it. Enjoy.